Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we have this Jenga made of ABH palettes, and I have about 15 ABH palettes. I guess if you're watching this video later it might be 150 released, but for now today I want to rank these ABH palettes from best to worst in my opinion. This ranking includes the new Carli Bybel. Also, I want to talk about some ingredients that are different in these palettes. But first, as always, if you're new, there's a monthly giveaway going on every month, so that's only for subscribers, and I'll link the details down below. Alright, so Anastasia made an empire and I made a Jenga tower of ABH palettes. I was bored with all these palettes. I thought it'd be a nice opportunity to look at all of her releases this year and last year, as well as her pressed pigment palettes. Also, a lot of people have asked me about the formulas in these different palettes, and it'd be a good opportunity to see what are some safe formulas that they have. Also, I believe there's a Beautylish event going on, so I'm excited to review all these for you today. So my least favorite palettes were the ones that have talc in the ingredients. Now, talc, as you know, absorbs oil, and it can leave a chalky finish on your skin sometimes. So I want to go ahead and say my least favorites of all were probably the Alyssa Edwards palette. There's two reasons that was my very least favorite, because A, it had talc, and B, the colors I just couldn't use so much, and so that was kind of unusable for me. Another unusable one that had talc was probably going to be the Anastasia Beverly Hills PRISM palette that also had talc in it, and some people are allergic to talc. I'm not allergic to it, I just don't prefer it, because if you have anything like dry skin, the talc also absorbs a lot of oil from your eyelids, so I guess I didn't really like the formula. Also, the color story wasn't fantastic. As you can see, the colors that are visible here in this PRISM palette, there's more like orangey and then like a bright yellow neon, and I just really couldn't get a whole lot of use out of some particular colors. And my palette is I have like two versions, one that's new and one that I tried to use for swatches in the past. It kind of, you know, there's like one or two neutrals, which you see in every single ABH palette, and then you have the a pop of yellow. Also, moving on to my next least favorite Anastasia palette, it's got to be the Subculture palette. Now, this was released, I believe in 2018, and guess what? It also has talc in it, and not just because of the talc, but the color story for me, it was just not really usable, and very highly pigmented. Now, not exactly like these pressed pigmented palettes that came out this year, which, you know, ABH Norvina Volume 3 was probably my favorite of those, and then 2 was the least favorite, but you know, that Subculture was definitely the least favorite out of the regular palettes, as well as Alyssa Edwards. So it was just really hard to work with. So moving on to my next least favorite, it's got to be the Sultry Palette. Now, that palette, a lot of people liked it because it had like some nice cool tones, and I was okay. I was on the fence with it. I wasn't too crazy about that one. There's just so many palettes to look at. And the next one, my next up on the favorites rank, now we're starting to get closer to favorites, was the Riviera palette. The Riviera palette I actually did like it. Thankfully, this one doesn't include any talc in it. Instead, it has mica, but all of her palettes have phenoxyethanol and dimethicone. So some people have problems with dimethicone also as an allergen, but I don't have a problem with it. It's something that, you know, you see in people that might be allergic to certain foundations. So next up on my favorites list, I have to say the next palette that I prefer is the ABH Norvina Volume 2. This is my least favorite actually of all three of her palettes, but I do like that this one had like nice shades of blue in it, and I barely got any use out of it because it was just recently released. and I probably rank this next on my list as far as my ABH palettes go. This is more of a pressed pigment palette, so some people, you don't really refer to it as an eyeshadow palette. And it retails for, I believe, $65, so it's on a higher price point compared to her regular rectangular palettes. So moving on to my next on the favorite list is probably the Carli Bybel. Now I know I already regret buying this palette because it has bismuth oxychloride. Now bismuth oxychloride is a unique crystal structure that what happens is those crystals can poke your skin and get stuck in the pores, and the sharper spokes can cause irritation, and this is more of a problem where bismuth oxychloride is the main ingredient in the powder. So not only does Carli Bybel's palette have that, but also the regular Norvina has bismuth oxychloride. Some of the shades have bismuth oxychloride in it. So in case you're wondering if you have a safe palette that doesn't have any eye irritants, any of the shades that have that structure in this Norvina palette will also include that bismuth oxychloride in it, and that's why I'm ranking it next on my list. Now moving towards more of the favorite spectrum of my ABH palettes, I would say next on my list is definitely the Soft Glam. This palette, not only as the name suggests, it's soft, the colors are soft, and also the ingredients are not that bad. There's no bismuth oxychloride and there's no talc in there, and I actually found it to be very fun to use. Versatile from weddings to day-to-day occasions. It was really awesome. So next on my list, it's probably got to be the first Norvina Volume 1 that came out before the other two. I think I reviewed this earlier in another video. This palette has really beautiful pigments. However, most of them are purple. I wouldn't say it's good for a day-to-day use, but it's definitely got a lot of potential for, someone who just wants to do lots of purple and bright color looks. So I really enjoyed the quality of it, and it's next on my list. So after that, my next favorite is the Modern Renaissance, and I love. This is a classic. Most people would even rate this as their number one. I love the shades and how beautiful this was, and it's still a classic to this date. Now equal on the ranking scale is probably the Jackie Aina palette that was also released this year. This palette, I instantly liked it a lot because it showed up really well on my skin tone, which is more olive skin tone, and I feel like a lot of skin tones can use this, and I really did like this palette a lot, and also recommend it a lot. And so yeah, I'd say they're about equally ranked as the Modern Renaissance palette, but maybe the Modern Renaissance palette is more for day-to-day use, and you can definitely get more use out of if you're going to work or somewhere that neutral colors are more acceptable. However, the Jackie Aina palette, for me, I loved the purples in there, and the golds were really beautiful. So next on my list, there's only a few more left. My favorite of the Norvina collections was the Volume 3 because of the pigmentation. This was more of a pressed pigment palette, but I did like how there's more fall colors in there, and you can create a lot of looks. If you own a lot of palettes, this might be interesting to you, but if you're into a neutral kind of person, then Modern Renaissance and Soft Glam may be a better favorite for those kind of people. Now finally, number one on my list is the Mario ABH collab. This is not the KKW Mario palette, this is the ABH Mario palette, and I absolutely love this palette because it's got neutrals, it's got some nice blendable greens and browns in there, and I would say it's probably an all-time favorite. I'm sad that this was a very limited edition palette, and I hope that they bring this back. I didn't use it as much because I was scared to run out of it, but I hope they bring this palette back. It was really pretty and very versatile and super blendable, so I think this would be a number one for sure. So there you have it. That's my my collection of ABH palettes. Again, number one was definitely Mario And then I had my ABH Norvina Volume 3, and the same rank I'd probably put Modern Renaissance and Jackie Aina all on number 2 ranking, then Soft Glam, and so these would be like position like 3, and then Norvina, and then Norvina Volume 3 from her pressed pigment collection, and then the Carli Bybel, which had all that ingredient in it, and Norvina Volume 2, Riviera, Subculture, PRISM, and finally Alyssa Edwards. Or Alyssa Edwards. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what your favorites were, and as always, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already to be entered into monthly giveaways. Thank you so much again, and I will see you guys next time.